I'm out here in the beautiful wilderness, the higher elevation of Arizona. North Arizona, you got to come down and check it out. Northern Arizona, the mountains around Flagstaff. The reason I ended up here is because in the year 2000, I filed for divorce on Thursday afternoon. I bought a brand new Kawasaki Mean Streak. It's a Vulcan in the line of Vulcan, Mean Streak 1500. The Mean Streaks now are only like 11, some weird number like 1175. But the Mean Streak, when it first came out in the year 2000, was the first motorcycle to ever come out with a stock drag bar. And it came out with a big old 1500 V twin engine. It's a Metro Cruiser, so there's a lot of plastic. And in the year 2000, you'd get a lot of Harley guys yelling at you, "Get a real motorcycle." And if you wore a full face helmet on a Cruiser, you'd get all kinds of people telling you, who in the hell do you think you are? But anyways, on that Saturday morning, I was on my way out to the Grand Canyon. It was like a 3-day weekend. And I got to the Petrified Forest, which is east of Flagstaff, but I drove through Flagstaff to get there. And obviously on the way home, I drove through Flagstaff again. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I did fall in love with the high mountains in northern Arizona and the little town of Flagstaff. But if you ask me now, there's a whole bunch of Freemasons and witchcraft, and there's the haves and the have-not. The haves and the have-nots in Flagstaff, and there's not too much in between. And the ones that have really look down on the ones that don't. Because the ones that don't are a lot of like poor Native Americans and, for lack of a better term, white trash. And but if you're someone that's sober like me and has all kinds of degrees and worked his whole adult life as a professional, it's kind of lame to get clumped in with that crowd. But I thought I would talk a little bit about gang stalking. Seems to be the most popular topic these days, and it's happening so often. So yesterday I go into church, and I just know because I got there like 20 minutes early. I went to confession first, and that always starts a half an hour before Mass. So I got in like 5 minutes before that time, and then I had to wait a while. And then by the time I was out of confession, it was 20 minutes left. And I know if there's 20 minutes and if I'm seated down 20 minutes before Mass, I know they're going to send in some gang stalkers. So sure enough, this little old lady that was in my Bible study and would always roll her eyes when I would speak and try to say like a negative put down when I would say something in Bible study, and that had gang stalked me in Mass before by sitting right next to me and trying to irritate me. So she comes in, and right when she comes in, I just bow my head down and close my eyes and go into prayer, because they like to bump into you a lot. So I'm thinking if she bumps into me, I'll just feel it without seeing it coming first, and it won't be as irritating. So she comes in and gets right behind me and then goes to kneel down and like tries to pull really hard to push down on the chair so that I feel the whole chair like lean back. And I was kind of impressed for a little old lady. That was some serious force. She caused my whole metal chair to like bow backwards. And so I didn't waste any time. I just grabbed my little book of Psalms, my reading glasses, and my hat, and got up. Right when she was sitting down, I was getting up and moved over to a different part of the church. And then the priest looks at me kind of shocked, like, darn it, that didn't work, because usually it's the priests that call the gang stalkers. And that's why I know if I get there 20 minutes early, they've got enough time to go, hey, 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 you're needed over here. You're needed over here. And they come rushing over. I really, people, when they say I can't believe that gang stalking's real, I'm like, I'm right there with you. I can't believe it either. But it's in my face 24/7, so I believe it. Even though on some level it's like too crazy to believe, but when you're going through it, you kind of have to believe it. Someone got really offended recently on a comment where they said, you said gang stalkers are poor. That's bullshit. They drive nice cars. They're Freemasons and blah, 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 blah. It's amazing the amount of people you get hating on you. And I never, Freemasons I see more as the gang stalkers. And then the witchcraft I do see, at least in my apartment complex, a little bit poorer. But I never said that wealthy people don't engage in in witchcraft. I never said that. I only talked about like kind of my own situation. Let me read one or two comments. Hey, the Forgotten One. Hope you're enjoying your ride. Yeah, I really am. I paid a pretty penny to get this girl riding just right. And you've got just miles and miles of just beautiful forest. But I love when you drop through different like ecosystems, and I'm about to turn off of this road and go down to like Cottonwood. And as you're going down, you just see the types of shrubbery and trees change. And then you'll start to even see different kinds of animals. And I'm going to end up in the desert, like the low enough where it's kind of like hot desert. And then you go through Verde Valley or Valley Verde. I always forget which one's first. And you go through this little beautiful like meadow area right in the middle of kind of like a desert with a river that's running right through it. So thank you, Forgotten One. Karma Gupta, nothing starts with N and ends with G. I'm not sure what you mean by that, my friend. But this gang stalking's a trip. I don't know how many of you saw when I had my Roadrunners rant. The first 5 minutes of that is a perfect example of gang stalking on the road. You'll see all kinds of people around me driving extremely aggressively, and it's almost all white cars. So they got the color coding involved, and they got the harassment. But once again, I didn't even notice. Sometimes I just don't pay attention, and that's the best way to be. But when I watched the video, then I saw how certain cars would speed really aggressively right past me, and then immediately they'd like slow down and go behind me. And it was just so they could do it again. So they'd gun it past me and then slow down and let me pass, and then gun it again. But I was just focused on the road and what I was saying, so I didn't even pay any mind to it. But life is good. When you have the Lord, no matter what they throw at you, you're able to kind of rise above it. Thank you for prayers for a safe and satisfying trip. I said all my prayers for a safe trip. I always have so much trust in the Lord, and I feel so protected, that I never foresee an accident coming. If I were to have one, I would be kind of shocked. But, I would immediately think, okay, Lord, let me take a deep breath. What am I to learn from this? That's always the best way, is you always think you're protected. But then if something does get through, you think, oh, well, I can learn, I can become a better person from this. So who are these people? I think it usually kind of starts with a narcissist. from what I've been able to gather and the amount of really, really angry, mean narcissists that I've had in my life, it usually comes from like an ex, like married to a narcissist and then you get a divorce. Because they really think it's their right to treat you any which way they want and that you have to thank them for the abuse because you're allowed to be in their presence. You know, they've convinced themselves they are such a weird person because they have so much insecurity, but they convince themselves that they're the coolest thing since sliced bread. And so they're gonna make you pay. They're gonna make you pay for causing that narcissistic injury because deep down inside, they know they're the most insecure person in the world. They know that their whole persona is based off movie star characters and different movies they've watched and sitcoms they've watched. And they know everything's an act, but it's only deep down. And when you throw them that curveball and you go, that's it, I'm out of it, I'm out of here, and you stop caring, they don't even believe you when you say, you know what, that's it, I'm out of here. They're like, yeah, you'll be back. You know, don't let that door hit you on the way out the door, sweetheart, or whatever, because they know you're going to be back. And so, you know, but somehow when you have God in your life, you can just shut that door and don't care anymore. And you only look forward to a future without them. And then that's when they start to cringe and start to curl up in a little ball. And they're like, how dare you do this to me? And then if they have the means, they're going to be able to pay people to do witchcraft on you. They're going to be able to pay people to stalk you. And then there are these groups out there that are willing to believe anything negative about someone, especially if you're someone that filed for divorce or you're someone that was able to go no contact with their whole family, that is very well manicured, right? These narcissistic families, they're always all about image. And so to the typical secular person that's really all about money and nice car, nice house, nice clothes, they're going to believe, okay, well, you're one of us. We're like-minded. We both have nice things. We have good paychecks. And this person doesn't. And so you're saying this about this person, I'm on board. You know, so they're going to believe it, hook, line, and sinker. Let me read a comment or two. 40 years of riding HD. I've had a couple accidents. Only want the best for my friend from North Carolina. Yeah, I've never crashed a Harley. Thank goodness. That would be heartbreaking. I've had 3 accidents, though. One was on that Kawasaki Mean Streak 1500 that I just mentioned. And that was my most stupid one because I had been drinking kind of heavy the night before and I had a bit of a hangover. And I still, like, I got home at like 2 in the morning drunk. And then at 6 a.m., I suit up and get on the road for a motorcycle ride up in the Malibu Mountains. And I went down Tuna Canyon, and it's a beautiful one-way street with real sharp twisties all the way down to the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. And I was having a lot of fun just fully throwing this big old Cowie into... I got a gang stalker. Hang on. Yes.
You okay?
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah,
Just a second.
I'm fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
just checking.
I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
God bless. That was a beautiful Jeep. It was like a Jeep truck. It was a 4-door Jeep truck. I don't think I've ever seen one of those before. But yeah, that was my most stupid accident. And then I had 2 others, one of which I think a family member rubbed oil all over the back tire of my first motorcycle, 1976 Honda Super Sport 554. because I fishtailed back and forth 6 times before I high sided. And but you guys don't want to hear about that. And then the other one, I had this really cool guy straight over from Ireland that we met at work, working at Oz, card and gift shop in Westwood Village. And I was trying to give him a fun ride because whenever you give someone a ride, you want to kind of give them a little bit of adrenaline so that they can kind of see what fun motorcycles have to offer. And slammed into the side of the car. Actually, put a hole in the door with my back peg. Nappy head roots. These people are demons. You can say that twice. Got a hot thermos of coffee. But, you know, they don't really know anything about you except for what they've been told. And they're the kind of guys that were in middle school full-on bullies, you know, and they just like feeling like they're one of the cool guys. And they would hate the idea of ever being one of these targeted individuals. So they make sure they're not targeted, and part of the way that they do that is by doing whatever their superiors tell them to do. But what amazes me is how many of these are like people straight out of drug rehab, straight out of the state pen, straight out of jail. And, you know, with those, it has a lot to do with the gift cards. You know, because these are not desirables. These are not people that are favored by society or they're the kind that are looked down upon by the Freemasons and, you know, the wealthy ones. But then they're still ready to come at you, and it's just because they want a better life. So they want to fit in. They don't want to be going back to jail. You know, they know they're alcoholics and they got no purpose in their life. They don't have God in their life, but they want that gift card and they want to be left alone. They don't want to be targeted. And so it's just about making sure that they can keep their Netflix on and be able to be losers without anyone taking that from them. It really is a strange phenomena. But, you know, the more that this happens to me, the more I think back on crazy stuff that has happened to me where it's like, I think I was being targeted. Like this experience with this professor saying you're not going to be able to graduate from graduate school. But I devoted 3 years of my life to going full time during the day, during the evenings, and I worked full time. So for 3 years of my life, I had no social life. I had a full-time 40-hour-a-week job, and I was taking full courses of graduate school every evening, every semester. And then the professor, on purpose, lies, and he said I never gave him the journal, the whole practicum journal, the whole final year is in this one journal, and you couldn't graduate without that journal. And he said, you never gave it to me. And it was all a lie. And he was like, well, don't worry. You're still going to be able to walk the stage because I don't want to embarrass you in front of your family. So I'm going to roll up just a piece of paper. And so it'll look like you get a diploma just like everyone else. But you're not. You're not going to be able to graduate. And it was just like, with no solution. I'd like, well, what do I do now? Because I gave you the journal. You're saying I didn't give you the journal. So he was saying, basically, you're screwed. You just wasted 3 years of your life, tens of thousands of dollars in tuition, and you'll never be a school psychologist. And then sure enough, I just was fine. And I went and got a job at a horse ranch, working every day with horses, and I loved it. And then October rolls around, and there was only 12 of us in the graduating class. And the leader of the whole program, Scott Kester, calls me and he's like, what in the hell are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He says, why aren't you applying to get a job? I said, well, the other professor, Dr. Leung, said that I'm not allowed to graduate. And he's like, BS, your diploma's been waiting for you in the registrar's office. I was like, what? It was all just a come on. He was just having fun pulling my leg. This is a grown man in his 40s, extremely educated with a Psi-D degree. So that was so uncalled for. I think about this algebra teacher that all year long, my first year in high school at Notre Dame High School, was just picking on me, harassing me all day, every day. And I would get like C's and B's on the test, but he would give me D's. No matter what kind of grades I got, he gave me nothing but D's all year long for my report card. So I had to go to summer school and I got a B. It's like, what was with that guy? So, you start to look back at your life when you really, really get gang stalked. You start to look back at your life and go, wow, there's been a lot of this stuff that has always kind of been happening to me. I used to take my kids to this great Italian restaurant about 1 block from where we lived, just outside of Westchester, called Gianfranco's Pizzeria. And we loved it. And the waiter there was kind of a little bit effeminate. I don't know if he was actually gay or not, but he was a very nice gentleman. And we had good rapport with him. And we loved going there. We'd go there like once or twice a month. And then after like a year, it's like someone spread a smear campaign on us. Because then whenever we'd go there, he would treat me terribly. I mean, literally 180 degrees difference. We had good rapport. I tipped him well. We loved the atmosphere, the food, his being our waiter. And then it just went totally south. Overnight, someone obviously said something to that guy. And you start to realize that when you're a targeted individual, I do feel like you are a chosen one. And you've always kind of had people come up against you, switch up on you. But then you finally cross the one person you shouldn't have crossed. And it's almost always a narcissist. I just spilled coffee on myself. But I love the smell, so it's all good. Hi, Life Coach Kim. Hi, Happy Head Roots. Hi, Summer. Peace. These people are demons. I knows it. You're preaching to the choir. I'm sorry for all the big trucks going by. It's like at least half the cars, if not 75% of the vehicles traveling down this road seem to be big old semis. But how's everyone out there? How's everyone out there in YouTube land? So, what else can I say about these people? It just really breaks my heart because I know a lot of people don't like me being Catholic, and I understand Protestants are going to protest. What do they protest? Catholicism. I get it. But I've studied in depth all the talking points and all the rebuttals. And, I fell in love with the Lord through Catholicism. As an altar boy in 6th and 7th grade, I wanted to become a priest. And I'm totally okay with Catholicism. I don't want to get started on that because that's not the topic for this video. But everything that people say against Catholicism, I research it. And I end up coming full circle right back to where I am. I'm very, very happy in that. And you Christians and Protestants and non-denominational and born-agains that are willing to tolerate my channel, even though I am a Catholic, I try not to bring up, my love for Mary or praying to saints or things that'll rub anyone the wrong way, so that we can have a happy medium. And Jesus always spoke about, how he wants us all to be in love with each other. Anything dividing believers. And so, that's why I leave those topics alone on this channel, and I kind of ask the same of everyone else. But yeah, it really breaks my heart that the main people that are in this, against me at least, are Catholic priests, deacons, and the congregation. And like I've said many times, I'd only lived out in Flagstaff. I hadn't even got a place to live in yet. I'd only been out there about 5 or 6 days when I met the first Catholic priest, went to shake his hand, and he was just disgusted with me. I met my first official gang stalker before I'd even got step. And I should have just ran. I should have just said, oh, next town. But it probably would have followed me there. Anyways, give me one or two last comments, anything you want to say, because I'm going to get back on the road here pretty quick. My dog, I'm several far distance from home, and I'm going to be traveling a long time, and my dog's locked up in the apartment. So I want to call this quits before I spend too much time on here. It's already been 26 minutes. I will travel safe, Life Coach Kim. I appreciate that. Thank you. Jay, thank you and be safe. Jesus Christ is King, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the lover of our souls. He is the lover of our soul. He loves us so much more than we could ever comprehend. And it's only after we take our last breath that we'll fully start to understand that. So, regardless of one's denomination, what matters is the posture of their heart. Absolutely. I mean, I've even been sad when I've met people that really love the Lord, and then I find out they're Mormon or Seventh-day Adventists but the main thing was, I think, is, okay, well, their doctrine's a little off, but this person's heart posture is in the right place. One of my favorite human beings is a Catholic. I've met so many Catholics that are so devout, that really just go to Mass every single day and, really, really know Scripture. And everyone likes to think that Catholics don't know Scripture. We're not so solo scriptura, but a lot of us really do love the Lord. And if you really, really love the Lord, you've got to love Scripture. I think it's the main way he talks to us. He talks to us in little things we see. He talks to us through our hearts and our intuition. But I think the main way the good Lord talks to us is through Scripture. And also through the homilies. When the preacher gets up there in the pulpit, a lot of times it's like he was talking to me today. It's like he was talking directly to me. Love from Los Angeles. I miss Los Angeles, Jay. This gang stalking thing is for real. And it is. But I appreciate you guys being here and spending a little time with me. I'm going to get back on the iron steed. Have a good day. I love you. God bless.